You're listening to the Blind Tiger Record Club podcast, where we champion music of all genres, and we believe vinyl is king.
For a dying man, I feel pretty good, I feel pretty good. For a righteous man, I'll do what I should, do what I should. For a fallen man, I'll get up again, I'll get up again. For a dying man, I feel pretty good. Oh, we're born to trouble as the sparks fly high. Born to trouble as the sparks fly. It's alright. In the light, I see you glowing. It's alright. In the light, I see you glowing.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Season 3 and the first episode of 2020. It's a new year, and we are so pumped about everything that we have planned this year for the Blind Tiger Record Club podcast. Rudy, Happy New Year. Welcome back.
Happy New Year, Dave. Good to be back.
There really is a lot of great things that we've got planned for this season. Some of them are coming up pretty soon. We've got a new LP interview episode launching in a couple of weeks where we sit down with Kevin Kinney and discuss Driving and Crying's 2019 release, Live the Love Beautiful. We also deep dive into the band's long career, and it was really a great discussion. It was so good, in fact, that I'm pretty sure we'll probably, do a B-sides episode on that one, probably in February. Yeah. But that one should go live January 27th, so everybody needs to come back and check out that episode. We have several great guests like that lined up for Season 3. We'll probably do about 8 to 10 of those interview-style episodes this season, so that also means we'll have more B-side episodes where we put some of that extra interview discussion just out there for everybody to consume. These interviews are really long once we get talking sometimes with these guests.
Yeah.
So there really is just a lot of great content, and we can't always use it on the show. I mean, that interview with Kevin Kinney, we're going to really focus on Live the Love Beautiful.
Yeah.
But because I went back and talked to him all the way, back to their first album. Yeah, it's
his
just
solo stuff.
I'm actually almost more excited about the B-sides episode as I am the Live the Love Beautiful episode. So
part of digging in with your favorite musicians,
Yeah.
Like you find out so many things that you've been wanting to know for a long time that you finally get to ask,
just so everybody knows kind of what we're going to be doing every month, we'll still have 2 club episodes each month. The club episodes are what we call the 45. And one of those is always our Record of the Month episode, like the one that we're doing today. And then one is a Spotlight album and new store editions. So, today is the first club episode that we're doing for the year, and it's for the January Records of the Month. And today we're going to be talking about 4 styles. So we've got our singer-songwriter pick, which is the new album Nightfall by Little Big Town. We've got the rock and alternative album, which is Juice by G.Love. Solo, no sauce.
No sauce. Sauce on the side.
Our jazz, soul, and blues record this month was the new solo project by Marcus King called El Dorado.
Ooh, get ready.
So he's dumped his band just like G.Love did for these 2 projects.
Yeah. He had some solo material he needed to get out.
Yeah. The classic rock record this month is Take Me Home Tonight, the best of, by the amazing Eddie Money, who we lost last year to cancer. So, look, if you sign up at blindtigerrecordclub.com, you can pick any of these albums we talk about today to start your membership. But for now, Rudy, let's drop the needle and take a quick listen to the Blind Tiger Record Club's January 2020 Records of the Month. All right, well, as we said, our first style is our singer-songwriter pick for this month, and it's Little Big Town's Nightfall. This is the band's 9th studio album, and it releases on Capitol Nashville on January 17th. One of the things that really caught my attention about this album, which is why I started looking at it for a club, was that I noticed that for the first time ever, they had self-produced an album.
Yeah, which is kind of, I think, surprising for a really big country act to do that.
It's surprising on a lot of levels, but also they've worked with a lot of really great producers. They did 3 albums with Wayne Kirkpatrick.
Yep.
They did, their last 3 have been with Jay Joyce.
With Jay Joyce, yeah.
And they even had like this one-off that they did where they brought in Pharrell and Justin Timberlake.
Sort of a pop album.
Yeah, it wasn't really, some people don't even consider it like
mainstream country.
One of their major studio albums.
Sure.
Yeah. But the point is, like, am not used to seeing, like you said, any country artist at this level really
self-produce an album, especially 9 albums in. Doesn't that just seem? It just seems kind of like counter, productive to what.
Well, and they've obviously had some pretty solid relationships with some of these producers because they've done multiple albums, with both Kirkpatrick and Joyce.
Yep.
So anyway, that's kind of what got me looking into it, and I was just curious to see, kind of how this album would sound, especially because I really enjoy some of the stuff that they've done on their last 3 with Jay Joyce.
Yeah, with
so
producers.
One of the things is as you dig a little deeper on this album, you're going to find that yes, they did self-produce, but they also worked with a lot of writers co-writing on this record, which is not odd, but just
a lot of heavy hitter co-writers.
And one of the writing teams that they kind of brought in is the production team that brought us the 2019 album of the year, Golden Hour by Casey Musgraves. Yeah. So both Ian Fitchuk and Daniel Tashian co-wrote on this album.
Yep.
Along with Ian and Daniel, they wrote with several other great songwriters. The list is pretty long, but some of the ones that stood out to me were like Foy Vance, Ashley Ray, Laurie McKenna.
You've got Ashley Gorley, who is like writing every freaking #1 main country hit out there right now, and Liz Rose, who is also someone that's always in there, and Sean McConnell, who I think he's actually got his own solo album coming out right now too.
Yeah, so I mean it's just stacked with writing, and it was
There's
all
great
co-writing sessions. So that kind of like should pique your interest as well. I mean, there's a lot of like really good foundational material they were starting with before they even started rolling tape. So the album is dropping one day after a historic performance at Carnegie Hall in New York.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They're the first mainstream country act that's played Carnegie Hall since Alan Jackson did in 2013. So that's like kind of awesome because Alan Jackson is pretty much country royalty at this point.
Yeah. Here's the title track. This is a song called Nightfall.
Sunset to sunrise, I'll be the keeper of your heart. I'll be here right beside you through the darkest part. Heaven's just above the Milky Way. Stay right here and be my saving grace. Straight on until the morning, don't you be afraid.
Really dig that track.
I can't get away from those verses, man. I'm hooked right from the start of it. I love the way the drums come in on like the second 1, 2, 3, 4 beat. I love it. It's so good.
We're going to talk about this a little bit more later in the podcast here, but I one of the things I really like about this band is like I feel like that song is a prime example of what Little Big Town does a lot. Like that song could work at a lot of formats.
Yep.
I'm not even sure it actually even works at country.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a breath of fresh air. If you don't like modern country, they could almost convert me. I think they could.
Well, the band's last 4 albums all charted in the top 5 on Billboard's 200. Since this hasn't released at the time of this recording, we don't really know how Nightfall will perform, but they've already received 1 Grammy nomination off this record, so my guess is it'll probably do about the same as some of the last ones.
Every year that they have an album come out, they are up for multiple awards. So I don't think that they have anything to worry about here.
One of the early retail singles was a song called Over Drinking. They released the video for it in October, and just to kind of start, marketing the album and kind of, teasing it. And so
beginning of the marketing cycle.
Yeah, the video drew its inspiration from films like Urban Cowboy, and so it's set in the 70s. This song's a really strong song as well. I think it uses, Rudy and I have talked about this off mic before, but one of the things I like about country and the storytelling is when they do wordplay with the storytelling. And this is one of those songs that I just think it's, what you kind of expect from a good country song. So,
where you pop the perfect line in there.
Yeah.
In the
and
chorus
maybe it
or
works
whatever.
in a couple of different ways.
But it's got those double meanings or whatever.
So this is Over Drinking.
No more
out on a bar stool, tear in my beer, drowning my sorrows, wishing you were right here. No more 80 proof bourbon to get you off my mind. It ain't why I'm sitting here sipping one tonight. Yeah, I'm over drinking, over you. I'm done with bottles and chasing the blues. I still go out with the boys and knock back a few, but I'm over drinking, over you. Yeah, I'm over drinking, over you.
So Little Big Town has been nominated for 13 Grammys, and they've won 3. They've been nominated for so many ACMs, ACAs, AMAs, and CMAs. I can't even list them out. Some of them, I think it was maybe ACMs and CMAs. Like, they've been nominated for over 20.
Yeah, and like CMAs, they're the vocal group of the year 6 years in a row. I mean, we're gonna have to do another podcast on their awards and nominations.
Yeah, there's just no point in. They've just been receiving accolade after accolade since their first album dropped, and they're probably one of the most recognized acts in current country today.
It kind of opened my eyes researching them for this podcast. Like, oh, you probably should pay a little bit more attention to the groups like this that are so, awarded and nominated. Like, there's something special there, and I don't know. It really opened my eyes to how talented they actually were.
The song "The Daughters" off Nightfall has been nominated for Best Country Duo Group Performance at the 62nd Grammy Awards, which will take place on January 26th. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if they pick up a 4th at this Grammy Awards.
Yeah.
It was the first track. It was the very first track that they released off of this record, really teasing the album all the way back in April. They actually debuted it at the Academy of Country Music Awards last April when they performed there.
Yeah, I just watched that performance. It's incredible.
They didn't release it to radio, but it still peaked at number 29 on Country's Hot 100. The song has had a little bit of controversy. I think it's specifically due to the chorus.
Yeah, there's a line in there.
Yeah, well, the meaning of the song, to me, it's like super clear and well written. It's it's discussing, like, however you want to word it, like double standards applied to girls growing up in the South, and expectations, that are sometimes put on women. Yep. But the chorus is a little more ambiguous, and it's. I think it may even be possible that it was a melodic lyric, like it kind of worked well with the song, but it wasn't as, cohesively written as the verses were, as far as to keep in the theme.
Yeah.
But that is what has created some of the controversy that's going around it, even to the point where there are people that sometimes protest at some of their shows now.
Yeah, and even radio has given them some pushback, like a little bit here and there.
And I even fully don't even understand like that lyric. I'm not even sure exactly what they were saying with it.
Yeah,
but I think you got to take it in context with the whole of the song, which we definitely know what the meaning of the song is driving towards. And
Absolutely.
So it's really a beautiful song. And I actually do think it's going to be hyper competitive for it getting the Grammy this year.
Yeah, Karen Fairchild, who is like one of the main, songwriters and lyricists in the band, I feel like this record was kind of like a female empowerment, like she wrote a lot of lyrics that were meant to be, they're for women.
But not quite as in your face as like the High Women, release was.
It's
not where those might have been almost arguably in some cases like a protest song.
Yeah.
Like these are just more written from that perspective.
It's just great lyrics.
Well, this is the song, The Daughters.
Oh girl, wash your face before you come to the table. Girl, know your place, be willing and able. Take it on the chin, let the best man win. Girl, shoulders back and stand up straight. Girl, watch your mouth and watch your weight. Mind your manners, smile for the camera, and pose like a trophy on a shelf. Dream for everyone but not yourself. I've heard of God the Son and God the Father. I'm still looking for a God for the the daughters.
You know, we got this album early, and it really is another solid release, you know, from Little Big Town. It's definitely country, but I've, you know, as I mentioned earlier, like I've just always felt Little Big Town is more of a country crossover act. Not crossover just like the top 40, which they have crossed over to 4 times with hits like Girl Crush, Pontoon, Better Man, and Day Drinking.
Yeah.
But also other AC formats, you know, like whether it's AAA or Hot AC. Like I feel like they've got songs that kind of could work sometimes better there even than I always call them left of center for country.
Yeah. Nightfall, the title track definitely feels like a AAA, you know, adult contemporary song.
Right. If they were not Little Big Town,
all day long,
it could compete maybe in one of these other spaces.
Absolutely.
But that's it. I mean, it's a solid record, and everybody should. This is our singer-songwriter for the month of January.
Yeah, we got an awesome copy of this vinyl. It's a limited edition, clear double LP. Comes in a gatefold jacket, and the cover art is really awesome.
It is. I really like the way this whole album looks as well. So
they did a great job.
All right, well, let's talk about our rock and alternative pick for the month. Our rock and alternative selection is G.Love, The Juice. You know, this is Garrett Dutton's, a.k.a. G.Love. This is his 4th solo album. He's mostly known as G.Love and the Special Sauce, which is his band's name.
His backing band.
He's put out 8 albums with Special Sauce. So, you know, let's just call this his 12th overall studio album. Yeah. So G.Love and Special Sauce started out on OK Records under Epic Records. But in 2004, he signed with Brushfire Records and released his first solo album, which is Jack Johnson's label. Yeah. So he's been with them ever since. So all of his albums, G.Love solo as well as his Special Sauce albums, they all, since 2004, have been on Brushfire.
I think it's worth mentioning, too, that he signed in 1993 originally when he was 20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude has been playing music since he was a kid.
He's a tough artist to kind of just nail to one specific style or genre.
I don't think you can do that.
He is kind of like this mixture of R&B, blues, jazz is mixed in there, hip-hop or folk rap, soft and lo-fi or
swampy,
laid back.
It's always stripped down, kind of. The recordings are always very, stripped.
The net result of all that is, I mean, he's just a really unique artist. G.Love plays guitar, harmonica, and performs lead vocals on all of his albums. The Juice was recorded here in Nashville, and like many of G.Love's albums, he's not afraid to collaborate. He brings in guys, friends, and other people he's creating with, and this album's just like that. This has several guest performances, including Robert Randolph, Marcus King, and Roosevelt Collier. So the first track here that we're going to play is called Soul BQ, and it's featuring Roosevelt Collier.
My house, have yourself a seat. Tell me what you're drinking. Let me fix you something to eat. What I'm serving up, you don't need a spoon. You need to clap your hands, stomp your feet, and dance around the room. Now don't you feel better? I knew you would. Okay. Come on into my house. It's alright, it's all good. Cause it's a bebop, a loobop, a bebop, a lie. You don't need no invitation, you just drop on by. It's time to get up and throw down a funky stew. It's a low down, hold down, soul BQ. It's a soul BQ, it's a soul BQ. It's a low down, hold down, soul BQ. Charlie brought the chicken, and Whitey brought the wine. G.Love brought the reefer and the moonshine. Karina brought the cobbler.
This album was entirely written and co-produced with Grammy-winning blues icon Keb Mo.
Yep, they recorded it in his studio here in Nashville, Kinda Blues Studio.
Well, just like all of G.Love's work, the whole album is fairly genre blending.
Yes.
But I definitely feel like this one, is built totally on that foundation of blues, that he shares with Keb Mo. Keb Mo and G.Love both signed at OK Records and Epic back in 1993. So they've known each other for over 2 decades.
Yeah. G.Love said he was 20 when they signed, and Keb Mo was 47.
Yeah,
and now
crazy?
G.Love's 47, and Keb Mo is, a little further down the line.
Yeah. They even toured together when they first signed for a bit. So I mean, they've known each other a while, and when they first started talking about doing this album together, they wanted to kind of test the water and see how they're, it's one thing to know each other for a while, but maybe to
you don't know how you're going to work together, right?
So Keb Mo reached out to Gary Nicholson, and they ended up coming and writing with Grammy winner Gary Nicholson for a week here in Nashville. Nicholson's worked with everybody from B.B. King to Buddy Guy to Willie Nelson, Ringo Starr. I mean, super long list.
Yeah. Amazing.
So G.Love took those tracks that they kind of did in that week session, and he started performing them on the road and just kind of seeing what really seemed to connect and which ones were working.
Yeah.
But it was a year and a half before he got back to Nashville to actually roll tape and start recording these tracks. So they definitely got flushed out in a live environment and kind of tested a little bit more on the road.
Worked and reworked maybe a little bit.
One of the things that I've read a lot is that, obviously G.Love is a fairly laid-back performer. His style even sometimes is described as sloppy.
Yeah,
not like in a
sloppy in a bad way.
Yeah, not in a disparaging way. It's laid back and loose and open. But
it's not super clean guitar playing. You'll see it if you watch his performances. It's not the cleanest guitar, but he gets it done.
Well, Keb Mo, however, was the counterbalance of this because he's very meticulous.
Yeah.
So G.Love said in an interview for this album with Rolling Stone, he said that every note, every lyric, every song, every story played or sung by every musician on the record had to be just the right thing, played the right way, on the right beat, and with the right feeling and sentiment behind it. So this track here is called Go Crazy, and it's featuring Keb Mo.
Flipping the channel, surfing the news, about to give this whole boy the blues. Talking heads don't make no sense, nothing to do with the shape I'm in. Need to sing, need to dance, need to cut loose in the way I can. Gonna fly away, by the free, be on home, you and me. I'm gonna lose my mind, I'm gonna lose my mind. Don't go crazy, yeah, I'm gonna lose my mind. If I don't go crazy, I'm gonna lose my mind. If I don't go crazy, yeah, I'm gonna lose my mind. If I don't go crazy, if I don't go, got me feeling like way too.
So collaboration has always been something G.Love likes to do. He's done things with a really diverse group of artists. It ranges from Lucinda Wilson to Lucinda Williams, Jack Johnson, Dave Matthews,
Yeah, I actually
Avett
discovered him
Brothers.
through Jack Johnson through that Rodeo Clown song that they did together forever ago. That was my first introduction to G.Love.
Well, and they did a track on an album a few years ago with the Avett Brothers. He's worked with DJ Logic.
Okay.
So as we mentioned, this album has its share of collaboration as well.
Yeah.
The guests he has on this album, I really feel help, they provide these extra textures that just ground it in the blues tradition, that he really is drawn to anyway on this album.
Yeah.
So, Marcus King has a great appearance on this album.
Right off the bat.
He's young and coming up the way G.Love was when he first started recording, but he's taken very seriously, especially as a bluesman and for his guitar work. And
Absolutely.
His guitar is really strong on the track he performs on with G.Love. This is The Juice featuring Marcus King.
No more lies about this, no more lies about that. No more ace up your sleeve, please just lay your cards flat. See how keeps at it rough when the struggle is tough. Bad news on the news every day, it's enough to make good people turn around and leave. How about we march in the street with free, raise our fists in the air, cause we do care. You say who cares? We do. We got the juice, we got the love, we got the dream. We won't give up. We are the change. We had enough. We got the juice. Time's up. Divided you fall. United we rise.
I read a quote from G.Love that says, "I've been in the game a long time, but I've always considered myself a student. Finishing this album with Keb Mo felt like graduation." I started listening to G.Love when he released his self-titled debut G.Love and the Special Sauce album in 1994. I actually saw him tour that album.
Awesome.
If I remember correctly, because it was a long time ago, I believe it was just him with a guitar and harmonica and then a stand-up bass player,
Yeah.
and a
And
couple
maybe a
of
drummer,
tracks.
maybe?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it was just a stand-up bass, and then a couple of tracks. He had a guest like rapper come up and perform some of the rap parts with G.Love, but that's
Awesome.
all it was harmonica, guitar,
Yeah.
guest rapper,
Yeah.
and stand-up bass.
Creating the rhythm through the
Yeah,
the
and
guitar
I mean, so we had
everything.
never seen anything like that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
He was
1994. We hadn't ever heard anything like it, and all we knew was like this was undeniably cool.
Yeah, he was sincere and he was serious.
It felt completely underground. Like, you're not going to hear this on the radio. And so I think, like, you know, Keb Mo helped G.Love make an album that's serious but still fun. And even though it's pieced together tighter, you know, and not as loose as you like normally kind of hear G.Love
Yeah.
making his music,
a little more produced.
it still feels like that same thing. 25 years later, it's cool and underground. And here we go, 25 years after that debut record, he's still pushing the limits of his beloved blues.
Yeah, we've got a great copy of this vinyl as well for our members this month. We've got a limited edition hot pink version of the record, so get in on that if you need it.
Yeah, the cover art is really cool too. He actually commissioned an artist named Greg Haberney.
Yeah, from New York.
And so that's who did the cover art. So it's really, really great. So let's talk about our Jazz Soul and Blues album for this month. It is an artist that we just talked about with G.Love. This is Marcus King and his new album, El Dorado. We had the Marcus King Band's last album, Carolina Confessions, in our Record of the Month program in 2018. And it was a great album. It was the band's third. It was produced here in Nashville by Dave Cobb. This album, El Dorado, is actually a solo album by Marcus King. So just drop the band. It's Marcus King. This time, King went into the studio with Nashville producer and Black Keys guitarist Dan Auerbach. So just like that, King has made records with two of the best producers in town. The first single off the album is The Well, and in an interview in Rolling Stone, King says that this song symbolizes the source of all my influences. So it seems like a great way to introduce the album. This is the track, The Well.
I was just a young and bouncing on my mama knee. She said there's only one thing to set your soul free. Wasn't no easy street where I come from. There wasn't no sleep until the work was done. Papa was a preaching about the fires of hell. If you wanna drink the water, got to go to the well. The Cornerstone Church trying to curse my soul, but the good Lord give me that rock and roll.
That song is currently at number 16 on AAA charts and working its way up. So it's definitely his most successful single to date. All 12 tracks were written by Auerbach and King, with some co-writes from writers like Paul Overstreet, Ronnie Bowman, and Pat McLaughlin. I think the last time we brought up McLaughlin was when we discussed the John Prine album.
Yeah, and they wrote this album. Dan and Marcus wrote this album together in 3 days here in Nashville at Dan's studio, Easy Eye Sound.
Well, they also had some pretty big heavy hitters back. I mean, he didn't have his band.
No,
so
it's not Marcus's normal
Auerbach
band.
put the band together.
Yeah, Auerbach decided to go ahead and cherry pick some pretty incredible studio musicians. They reached out to Gene Chrisman, who has played for Aretha Franklin and Bobby Womack. They used bassist Dave Rowe, who's played with Jerry Reed, and keyboardist Bobby Woods from the Memphis Boys. He played with Elvis Presley before. And then guitarist Billy Sanford to match up with Marcus, who actually wrote their lead riff on Roy Orbison's Pretty Woman,
Wow.
which is awesome. So pairing the new, royalty with the old royalty in a way.
Yeah,
And,
well, yeah, that was one thing that kind of stood out to me, was that every backing player that they brought in were pretty legendary.
It's
like
sort
they're
of like a
older. Yeah, and
little
here he
new
is,
super
he's
group.
22.
Yeah.
You
Just
know?
this kid that he ain't no kid though when you listen to him play. It'll blow you away if you've never heard Marcus.
Well, there are also some pretty amazing ballads on this album. There's a killer track called Beautiful Stranger that I just love. And then there is a song called Wallflowers and Wine.
Yeah.
And-
I read that he wrote that song just about basically driving across the state to go see a girl that he had met.
Yeah.
And he only stopped to pick wildflowers and grab a bottle of wine on the
Yeah.
way. So it's like just super hopeless romantic. It's pretty cool.
But it's awesome because it's such a great blend of like all of these old school styles. But this is one of those times too, you get to hear how he uses his lyrics and vocals to really storytell.
Yes.
And it's, to me, it's, what you said before, like he doesn't sound like a 22-year-old kid.
No.
When you listen to tracks like this, you literally are dumbfounded that he's the age he is.
Pretty sure that he might have did the sell his soul to the devil like Robert.
Robert Johnson. Let's go ahead and play that song. This is Wallflowers and Wine by Marcus King.
Wildflowers and wine, the old scratchy record plays in the background of our lives. We're still here dancing after all this time. Wildflowers and wine. I walk through fields of evergreen, a golden sun like I've never seen. I pick them one at a time, wildflowers and wine.
Man, you just can't talk about Marcus King without mentioning his age. I think I said he was 22, but he's 23. Either way.
Yeah. That year doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's just young. And, just like the last, Marcus King Band album, we see King on this record. We see a King whose vocals are seasoned and make him appear to be an artist that's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, I keep going back and searching for like Marcus King in the 60s and 70s videos, and you can't find him on the internet because he wasn't alive. So.
While it's true he has been doing this most of his life, it's still just amazing to think about how young he is. And then you kind of naturally go, well, how far is this guy going to go?
Yeah. What does it look like in 10 years? What does it look like in 20 years? I think it's pretty crazy. Like every video that you can go and watch a lot of Marcus King videos right now of him performing his songs. And, the interviewer will ask him, hey, that guitar is pretty special. Like, it looks pretty special. Can you tell us about it? And he'll say, well, I can tell you a little bit, but I can't talk too much because this is a prototype that was built by Gibson or D'Angelico. And it's just like all these companies are like, he's the next coming. And they are developing products to put in his hands because they know he's going to sell them.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's so awesome.
Well, I was planning on playing kind of another upbeat bluesy track off the album.
We can.
Well, I can't get away from this song that I mentioned earlier, Beautiful Stranger.
Oh, yeah, we can play that instead.
This is without a doubt a result of making the album in Nashville.
Absolutely.
And working with some of these country writers that he wrote with this time around. And that's, really, I think, one of the biggest things that separates this solo project from what he did in the Marcus King Band.
Yep.
This one, Beautiful Stranger, was written with country singer-songwriter Paul Overstreet.
Who is awesome.
It reminds me of the way Ray Charles approached country music. And when we talked about modern country...
Yeah.
Modern sounds and country music.
And country and western music.
Yeah, country and western music. Yeah, I was trying to get that whole title right. But that album, just the way that he kind of had this, he didn't come in and try to just do a country song. He took the country song and did it the way an R&B artist would. And I feel like there's some of that kind of sensibility going on
String
here.
flourishes, like string arrangements around the sound, but just that it's golden.
The foundation of it is still a country song.
Absolutely.
And it's just great. It's a beautiful tune. So this is Beautiful Stranger.
Beautiful stranger, come here quite often. I don't know your name, but I know what you drink. You got a secret, but it's one you can't keep. if you're feeling lonely.
That's baby making music right there. I don't care who you are. If you don't feel that one, you need to stop listening to music.
You see why I wanted to play that song?
Yeah,
not because I
remember
want to make babies, but
when we were doing when we were researching this one, I was listening to that One Day She's Here song, which really reminds me of like the older Eagles kind of like country sound.
Yeah,
If you want to
great
go back
song.
and like dig in, listen to some old Eagles and then listen to One Day She's Here off this new Marcus King album, and you'll hear those similarities. But I was trying to get you to listen to that, and then you were like, "No, I can't get off this beautiful stranger," and I was like, "I guess I'll go listen to the ballad," and then I was like, "Oh, all right, let's do this some more."
yeah.
This is probably the best song on the album, I think. I mean, I don't know. We've heard 4 or 5 songs, but like
The album's just solid, and
if this was an EP, I'd be just like, you can't do any better than this.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm so anxious to hear the rest of the songs.
yeah. Well, look, we've been a fan of the Marcus King Band, so it only makes sense that we're loving the solo album.
Yeah.
He's from my home state of South Carolina, which only makes me love him more.
Yeah.
You know, he's really had a heck of a couple of years.
Yeah.
He's
And
played the Grand Ole Opry, performed with Chris Stapleton. He's toured nonstop.
And I think it's pretty awesome to cap all that off with, you know, recording with someone like Dan Auerbach
Oh, yeah.
from, you
well,
know.
he made a
not
record
to
with
say-
Dave Cobb.
Yeah.
He made a record with Dan Auerbach. He's been on a heck of a run. And, you know, this album will be eligible for the Americana Honors and Awards this year.
He's going to win something.
If I was betting, I would wager that this album gets some attention this year.
Yeah.
Depending on the release cycle and like what comes out in blues over the next rest of the year, it might even get looked at for the next Grammys, not the ones that are coming up here in
Yeah.
January, but in 2021.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really think, man, if you like any of the stuff we're playing, or you know, you are a fan of anything from, you know, Ray Charles to Nathaniel Rateliff, I mean, you really need to check this album out. It is a great solo outing for Marcus King. It's El Dorado.
I don't seek out blues music in my day-to-day. I'm a punk, you know, metal guy, but this is compelling. This
Yeah.
is music that will make you come back and listen to it every day.
Yep.
I haven't stopped listening to the 5 songs that they've already released since we started listening to this album.
When Nathaniel Rateliff put out his last record, it was the guest we had on at the time when we were discussing that record, is one of the things we talked about. This is one of those albums that is going to be evergreen.
Yeah, I
Like,
think this was a perfect project.
Yeah, you can put it on the shelf in 5 years from now. It's still relevant. You can put it on the shelf 10 years from now. You're still going to want to play it. It's literally like an evergreen listening
timeless.
album. Yes.
Kind of like Marcus King is.
Yes.
Like ageless, timeless. Where did he come from and how did this happen? We're all just lucky to be, you know, getting to experience it now.
Well, that's our Jazz, Soul, and Blues record of the month.
For our Jazz Soul Blues subscribers, you're going to get the album in 180 gram audio file pressing. So it's a pretty special one.
Yep, that's awesome. All right, well, let's talk about our classic rock album for this month. Our classic rock record is Eddie Money, Take Me Home Tonight, the best of. So Eddie Money, you know, passed away on September 13th of 2019 from cancer, but he left us an amazing legacy of music.
Absolutely.
You know, much of it was radio staple from 77 through the early 90s.
Yeah, Eddie is, kind of the quintessential kind of radio hits, you know, artist.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Cleopatra Records is releasing this limited edition vinyl this month, and it's really loaded with hits from throughout his career, but, you know, specifically in that time window from 77 and 90.
Yeah.
He had 11 top 40 songs. His self-titled debut album in 1977 had 2 of these hits. One song was 2 Tickets to Paradise, which went to number 22 on Billboard Top 40, and Baby Hold On, which went to number 11 on Top 40 and number 5 on Cashbox.
2 huge singles right out of the gate.
And both of these are on this collection. So here's Baby Hold On, in case you forgot.
Baby, hold on to me. Whatever will be, will be. The future is ours to see. So baby, hold on to me. Baby, what's these things you've been saying about me behind my back? Is it true you might want a better life? Is it true you think these things I lack? Well, think about it, baby. I'm gonna take you to the top. So baby, hold on to me. Whatever will be, will be.
I can't believe that was on his first album.
But two
It's so
songs,
good.
like, how do you have 2 hits on your freaking first album?
Well, his second album came out in 1978, and it was called Life for the Taking. And on that record, he had his second top 40 hit, which went number 22, and it's Maybe I'm a Fool. That song is also in this collection. In 1980, he released his third album, Playing for Keeps. It didn't really produce any singles that worked at radio, and it was, honestly, it's fairly a forgettable album.
Yeah, it was his kind of not very well received.
That was his like sophomore slump, even though it was his
Yes.
third record.
Yes.
So
Junior slump.
you know, he had been touring so hard at that time, though, and he had a lot of success with these first 2 records. Matter of fact, he'd been touring so hard that he even collapsed at the end of the tour that he was on, supporting the third record, and he had to be taken to the hospital, and he was hospitalized for a while. And after he took a break from the road is when he went back in to record his next album.
Yep.
And that's probably what led to the weakness of that album. But anyway, in 1982, he came back with No Control. And you talk about coming back, that album went number 20 on Billboard 200 and produced a song, I Think I'm in Love, which went number 1 on mainstream rock, number 16 on top 40. It also became a huge classic rock song throughout the 80s. It's definitely a classic from my youth, and it's included in this collection. Here's I Think I'm in Love.
Ooh, something's got a hold on me now. It's a feeling, burning like a love on fire. Hold me tight, baby. Don't leave me by myself tonight. And I don't think I can make it through the night. I think I'm in love, and my life's looking up. I think I'm in love, and I can't get enough. No, no, no. I think I'm in love. Gotta be love.
So the very next year, in 1983, Money released Where's the Party? Money was starting to kind of incorporate synth, which was, of course, huge in 83.
The old 80s synth.
So he had one song chart well at mainstream. It went number 17. It was called The Big Crash. But that album, much like his junior record we just discussed, that album really just didn't perform well either. It even received some critical pushback because of the synth, and
Yeah.
just it was too much of a change.
People
from
wanted
his
that
sound.
old
Yeah.
Heartland rocker.
So it was Money's next album, his 6th release, Can't Hold Back, that produced his biggest hits. The first single and big song off this album that was actually Money's biggest hit of his career. It had a duet with Ronnie Spector of the Ronettes. It's Take Me Home Tonight.
It's pretty crazy. Money actually didn't even want to perform that song and put it on the album, but I guess he got in touch with Ronnie Spector and asked her, to sing that duet with him, and she agreed to sing on it. And that actually, the rest is history. Actually, I read that it was it may have been the first live sample in pop music, where you didn't actually take an old sample from
Right,
"Be My
you just-
Baby," but
she
she
came
came
in
and
and
sang.
retracked it, yeah.
So it was really cool.
Well, that song went number 1 on rock. It was number 4 on top 40. It was also nominated for Best Male Performance at the 29th Grammy Awards in 1987. So here's Take Me Home Tonight.
I feel the hunger, it's the hunger, tries to keep a man awake at night. Are you the answer? I sure wonder. When I feel with my appetite, with all the power you're releasing, it isn't safe to walk the city streets alone. Anticipation's running through me. Let's find the key and turn this engine on. I can feel you breathe. I can feel your heartbeat faster. Take me home tonight. I don't wanna let you go till you see the light. Take me home tonight. Listen, honey, just like a running side. Be my little baby.
So that album also had I Want to Go Back, which went number 3 on mainstream rock and number 14 on top 40. It was the number 13 song of the year on the year-end charts. The single Endless Nights was also on that album. It went number 10 on rock and number 21 on top 40. It also had a video filmed by David Fincher that was heavily played on MTV. So that album really was his biggest record. The follow-up album to that in 1988 was an album called Nothing to Lose, and it produced the hit Walk on Water. That track went number 9 on top 40 and number 2 on rock and number 7 at Cashbox.
And that's one of the ones that Eddie didn't like to perform live because he didn't like to sing the na 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 part. But he kept it in the set list because it was a fan favorite.
Well, here it is, just to refresh your memory. Here's Walk on Water.
I'm no angel, but I'll admit I made a few bad moves that I'm sure to regret. I hurt you once, or so you said. Just so one more chance is all you get. Didn't mean to do you wrong again. Worse things have been done by better men. Baby, look you what I'm saying. How long you got to stay? I've been staying for you. If I could walk on water, and if I could find some way to prove, if I could walk on water, would you believe in me? My love is so true. Na 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 na.
In 1991, Money released the album Right Here. That album produced his last top 40 single, I'll Get By. It reached number 21 and remained on the charts for 20 weeks. He had 10 albums in the Billboard 200 over his career. This compilation, it really is a solid grouping of songs. It's
Got all the good ones.
It's all those big songs we talked about on this podcast. But we do need to tell you, these are all recuts.
Re-recorded versions of the biggest hits.
Now they're practically note for note. He does take some changes in there, some attempts to update a few things.
Yeah, and a little bit of new arrangements going on in a couple of the places just to kind of update the sound. But yeah, these were done by Eddie between 2010 and 2011, so.
Yeah, and it was released originally in 2012. This is the first time it's ever been on vinyl.
Yes.
And the version we have is a limited edition pink vinyl.
Well, and it's really cool. It comes with 3 acoustic songs, like acoustic versions of Baby Hold On and an acoustic version of 2 Tickets to Paradise. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. If you don't have a bunch of Eddie Money albums, this is a great way to get a lot of these songs. They really are closely done
It's
to the
incredibly
original
close to the
productions.
original.
Like this is one of those. A lot of times you'll hear an artist attempt a note
lower
for note
octave,
recut, but
yeah.
it's just these
Or,
are
yeah,
really
that.
close.
Yeah, he still sings in the same octave on the choruses and stuff. So
Well, and since he has passed away, I mean, this is the most recent recordings that he did of any of these songs.
yeah.
Anyway, that wraps up our January records of the month. If you want to find out more, head to blindtackerrecordclub.com and go to the homepage, and you can read more about the records that we talked about on this show, as well as how to become a member. By the way, we are currently running a sale on the Best of Vinyl 2019. It runs until January, the end of January. So if you want to know what albums we really liked this past year, check out the last 2 episodes of Season 2. We counted down the top 20 of 2019, and then you can go and check out those records in the store.
There's a ton of great titles in there, ton of awesome, colored vinyl and 180 gram, stuff like that. So definitely go in there and check it out on our website.
All right. Well, please follow the podcast, like us, leave reviews. It really, really helps us. If you want to stay up to date on all that we're doing, you can go to our website and sign up to our email list, and we'll keep you up to date on everything we're doing with the podcast as well as in the store. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Don't forget, we've got an interview with Kevin Kinney coming up on January 27th. It's a fabulous interview, so check us out on January 27th. Until next time, keep the wax spinning.
For a dying man, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good.